The rain fell like bullets on the warehouse roof in Incheon port. Kim Tae-jin knelt on the cold concrete, hands bound behind his back, blood mixing with rainwater at his knees. Before him stood his brother. "Hyung," Tae-jin whispered, using the Korean term of respect for an older brother. "Please." Kim Tae-sung raised the gun, his hand steady despite the tears streaming down his face. "You should have stayed loyal, Dong-sang. Father's orders are absolute." The gunshot echoed across the harbor. But this isn't where our story ends. This is where it begins. To understand this moment, we need to go back to where the rot first set in, back to where the Kim family's empire was built on a foundation of blood, lies, and a curse that would consume them all. What happens when the people you die for are the ones who want you dead? When family loyalty becomes a weapon? When every embrace could be your last? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, I'm bringing you a story that will chill you to your bones. A tale of the Kim family, Seoul's most feared Mafia dynasty, where blood means nothing and power means everything. This is a story with no heroes, only survivors. Hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss a single moment of this two-part saga. Let's begin. Seoul, 1995. The Kim family wasn't just powerful, they were untouchable. Kim Dae-hyun, the patriarch, controlled everything from Gangnam to Busan, construction, entertainment, gambling, and the shadows where politicians made their real deals. His empire was estimated at over 500 billion won, but money was just a number. Respect was currency. Fear was power. He had 3 children. Kim Tae-sung, the eldest son, 32, calculating, educated at Oxford and groomed since birth to inherit the throne. He wore Italian suits and spoke 5 languages, but beneath the polish was a man who'd killed his first person at 17, his father's perfect weapon. Kim Tae-jin, the second son, 28, the family's enforcer. Where Tae-sung used strategy, Tae-jin used his fists. Loyal to a fault, or so everyone believed, he ran the street operations, commanded respect through fear, and loved his family with the intensity of a man who'd never known anything else. Kim Min-seo, the daughter, 25, beautiful, brilliant, and invisible. In the Kim family, daughters were ornaments, not heirs. She'd graduated top of her class from Seoul National University, spoke 4 languages, and understood the business better than either brother. But her father barely looked at her. To him, she was a bargaining chip for a strategic marriage, nothing more. And there was Lee Yoon-hee, Dae-hyun's second wife. Min-seo's mother had been in a convenient car accident 15 years ago. Yoon-hee, 38 and beautiful, had been a nightclub hostess before Dae-hyun made her his queen. The brothers never trusted her. They shouldn't have. The Kim family lived by one rule, tattooed in ancient Chinese characters on Dae-hyun's back. Chung-jung, loyalty until death. But loyalty is just another word for control, and control is an illusion. The meeting took place at the Sheila Hotel in a private room where Seoul's most dangerous men made decisions that would never reach the courts. Kim Dae-hyun sat at the head of the table, his 60-year-old face weathered but commanding. Flanking him were Tae-sung and Tae-jin. Across from them sat Park Joon-ho, head of the rival Park Syndicate, with his own son and underboss. "Your territory is shrinking, Park Si. Perhaps it's time to acknowledge the natural order." Park Joon-ho's jaw tightened. 20 years ago, the Park and Kim families had been equals, no longer. "I came here for peace, Kim Si, not insults." "Peace requires sacrifice," Tae-sung interjected smoothly, sliding a document across the table. "Sign over your Gangnam operations. In return, we guarantee your family's safety and a generous pension." Park's son, Park Min-woo, slammed his hand on the table. You want us to surrender what we built? Tae-jin leaned forward, eyes dead. You can surrender it now, or we can take it after we bury you. Choose. The room went silent. Park Joon-ho looked at the contract, then at his son, then at Dae-hyun. You've forgotten something, old friend. I know where all your bodies are buried, literally. Dae-hyun's expression didn't change, but Tae-sung noticed his father's fingers tighten around his glass. Is that a threat? Dae-hyun asked quietly. It's insurance, Park replied, standing. You want a war, you'll get one, but it will cost you everything. As the Park family left, Tae-jin moved to follow, but his father raised a hand. Not yet. Let them think they've won. But in the corner, barely acknowledged, Min-seo had been taking notes. She'd seen something her brothers missed, the flash drive Park's son had placed on the table and then pocketed. Whatever was on that drive, it was worth more than territory. It was leverage.
Min-seo returned to the Kim family compound in Pyeongchang-dong, a fortress disguised as a traditional Hanok estate. Guards bowed as she passed, but their eyes slid over her like she was furniture. In her room, she opened her laptop and began working. Her brothers thought she spent her days shopping and getting beauty treatments. Her father thought she was waiting obediently for him to auction her off to some political family. None of them knew she'd been building her own network for 3 years. Information brokers, hackers, disgruntled mid-level family members who resented being passed over. She made a call. Did you get it? The voice on the other end belonged to Jung Ho-sok, a former intelligence agent who now sold secrets to the highest bidder. The Park family's insurance? I'm working on it. But Min-seo, if your father finds out you're... He won't. How much? For this, 200 million won, and that's the friendship price. She didn't hesitate. Done. I need it in 3 days. After hanging up, she stared at her reflection in the darkened window. Her mother used to say, in a house of tigers, the mouse must become a snake. Min-seo had been a mouse long enough. Meanwhile, in the compound's underground office, Dae-hyun met with Yoon-hee. She poured him whiskey, her movements practiced and seductive. The Park family is getting bold, she murmured. Perhaps it's time for a permanent solution. Dae-hyun studied her. What do you suggest? Park Joon-ho has a weakness. His grandson, 6 years old, attends Seoul International School. His eyes hardened. We don't touch children. And that's why they don't fear you anymore, she said softly. The old rules are making you weak. He grabbed her wrist, not gently. Never question my strength. She smiled, unfazed. I never would, husband. I'm simply protecting what's ours. After she left, Dae-hyun sat in the darkness, the weight of his empire pressing down. He'd built everything through fear and loyalty, but lately he felt cracks forming, his sons circling like sharks, his wife whispering poison, his rivals growing bold, and somewhere in the shadows he sensed a greater threat, one he couldn't name yet, one that came from within. Tae-jin found Tae-sung in the family's private gym at 2 a.m., pounding a heavy bag with methodical precision. Can't sleep, Young? Tae-sung didn't stop. The Park situation is escalating. Father wants them eliminated within the month. So we eliminate them, Tae-jin said simply. What's the problem? Tae-sung finally stopped, breathing hard. The problem is Park Joon-ho wasn't bluffing. He has files, evidence of our operations going back 20 years. If those reach the prosecutors or the press, then we find the files first, Tae-jin said. I'm working on it. But Dong-sang, I need to know something. If it came down to it, if father's decisions were putting the family at risk, would you follow his orders or mine? The question hung in the air like a blade. Tae-jin's face hardened. That's not a choice I'll ever have to make. Father is the family. Is he? He's 70 years old. He's slowing down, making emotional decisions. We both see it. Be very careful with your next words, Hyung. Tae-sung raised his hands. I'm not talking about betrayal. I'm talking about evolution. Father built this empire. Now it's our job to protect it, even from his mistakes. Tae-jin stared at his brother, trying to read the calculation behind his eyes. You want to take over. I want to survive. We all should. After Tae-jin left, Tae-sung made a call. It's me. Begin phase 2. Make sure it can't be traced. 3 days later, Park Jun-ho's car exploded outside his favorite restaurant in Itaewon. He survived, but his driver and bodyguard didn't. The message was clear. The Kim family was done negotiating. But what none of them knew was that Min-seo had received the flash drive that same morning. As she watched the news of the bombing, she opened the encrypted files. What she found made her blood run cold. The Park family's insurance wasn't just about Kim operations, it was about the foundation of everything, secrets that went back to the very beginning, to how Dae-hyun really built his empire. Secrets worth killing for, secrets worth dying for, and now she held them in her hands.
Lee Yoon-hee had learned long ago that beauty was a weapon, but patience was armor. She'd been 17 when she first met Kim Dae-hyun in the nightclub where she worked. He'd been married then, powerful, magnetic. She'd seen her opportunity and taken it, playing the long game for 15 years. The first wife's death? An accident, the police had ruled. Brake failure. Tragic. Yoon-hee knew better. She'd arranged it through contacts Dae-hyun would never discover, and when he'd turned to her for comfort, she'd been ready. Now she stood in her private sitting room, meeting with a man her stepsons would recognize, Choi Sung-min, Dae-hyun's oldest friend and the family's consigliere. The bombing will trigger a full war, Choi said. Park's allies will retaliate. Good, Yoon-hee replied. War is expensive. It will drain resources, create chaos, and in chaos, there's opportunity. What are you planning? She smiled. Tae-sung thinks he's ready to lead. Tae-jin thinks loyalty will protect him. Min-seo thinks she's invisible. Dae-hyun thinks he's immortal. She poured 2 glasses of wine. They're all wrong. Choi took the glass but didn't drink. You want me to help you take control? I've known Dae-hyun for 40 years. And he's trusted you for all of them. That's why your betrayal will hurt most. She leaned closer. I'm not asking you to choose me over him. I'm telling you he's dying. Liver cancer, stage 4. He has 6 months, maybe less. He's keeping it secret. The color drained from Choi's face. How do you know? I'm his wife. I know everything. A lie, but a convincing one. The question is, when he's gone, who takes over? Tae-sung, who'll purge anyone he doesn't trust, or me, who knows how to reward loyalty? Choi was silent for a long moment. Then he raised his glass. To the future. They drank. What neither of them knew was that Min-seo had installed listening devices throughout the compound 6 months ago. In her room, she listened to the entire conversation, her hands shaking. Her stepmother was making a play for everything, and she just turned the family's most trusted advisor into a traitor. Min-seo had 3 choices: tell her father and watch Yoon-hee destroy her credibility, tell her brothers and risk them using this for their own purposes, or stay silent and plan her own move. She chose the 4th option. She called Jung-ho Sok. I need 2 things. First, medical records for Kim Dae-hyun, every hospital, every private clinic. Second, I need financial records for Choi Sung-min going back 5 years. That's going to be expensive and dangerous. I don't care. I need the truth. Because if her father's dying, everything is about to change, and Min-seo refused to be a pawn in anyone's game. Not anymore. It happened at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday night. Tae-jin was leaving Club Azur in Gangnam, one of the Kim family's most profitable nightclubs. He had 4 bodyguards, a bulletproof SUV, and 17 years of street experience. It wasn't enough. The attack came from 3 directions: motorcycles with silenced submachine guns, professional, brutal, efficient. Tae-jin dove behind a parked car as bullets shattered glass and tore through metal. 2 of his bodyguards dropped immediately. The other 2 returned fire, but they were outgunned. Then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The motorcycles vanished into Seoul's traffic. Tae-jin stood slowly, ears ringing, blood on his face from the grazing shot across his temple. Around him, civilians screamed. Police sirens wailed in the distance. He'd survived, barely. The message was clear. Park Joon-ho was done playing defense. At the family compound, Dae-yeon sat in his office, face carved from stone as Tae-sung recounted the attack. They used military-grade weapons, coordinated assault. This wasn't street thugs, father. Park brought in professionals. How many dead? 2 of ours, 7 civilians caught in crossfire. Dae-yeon's fist crashed down on his desk. He dares to spill blood in our territory? In public? Tae-jin entered, bandaged but alive. He's declaring war. We need to hit back 10 times harder. No, Tae-sung said. That's exactly what he wants. A bloody, public gang war that brings the police and prosecutors down on all of us. We need to be surgical. Surgical? Tae-jin's voice rose. They tried to kill me. And they failed, which means we have the advantage. They've shown their hand. Dae-yeon raised his hand for silence. Both of you are right. We respond, but strategically. Tae-sung, you'll handle the planning. Tae-jin, you'll execute. I want Park Joon-ho to understand what happens when you strike at a Kim. What none of them noticed was Min-seo standing in the hallway, listening. She'd already received a text from one of her informants. The attack on Tae-jin was a distraction. Check the Incheon warehouses. She made a call. Get me surveillance footage from our Incheon operations, all of them, from the last 6 hours. 30 minutes later, she understood. While the Kim family had focused on Gangnam attack, Park's man had hit 3 of their drug distribution warehouses in Incheon. Over 2 billion won in product, gone. But she also saw something else on the footage. Someone had opened the warehouse doors from the inside, disabled the alarms, and let Park's men in without resistance. There was a traitor in the Kim organization, and she had a strong suspicion who it was. Choi Sung-min had been having nightmares. In them, he watched Kim Dae-hyun's face as he discovered the betrayal, the hurt in his oldest friend's eyes, the rage, the inevitable bullet. He sat in his apartment in Hanam-dong, expensive whiskey in hand when his phone rang. We need to accelerate the timeline. Yoon-hee's voice was urgent. The war with Park will drain resources faster than expected. I need you to redirect funds from the legitimate businesses into my accounts. Make it look like war expenses. How much? All of it. 300 billion won. Choi nearly dropped his glass. That will cripple the family's operations. That's the point. When Dae-hyun is weakened, desperate, that's when we make our move. You'll be rewarded, Choi-si. I always take care of my people. After she hung up, Choi sat in darkness. He'd known Dae-hyun since they were teenagers, running protection rackets in Ikawan. They'd built the empire together, survived 3 gang wars, buried enemies and friends alike. And now he was stealing from him. He opened his laptop, hands shaking, and began the transfers. But what Choi didn't know was that Min-seo had already hacked into his computer 3 days ago. She watched every keystroke, every transaction, building her evidence. She now had proof of Yoon-hee's embezzlement and Choi's betrayal, but she still needed one more piece, proof of whether her father was actually dying. The medical records Jong Ho-sok obtained showed nothing, no cancer, no terminal illness, which meant Yoon-hee had lied to Choi. But why would he believe such an easily disprovable lie, unless Unless he'd been told by someone who claimed to have seen the results directly, someone in the family with access to Dae-hyun's private information. Min-seo's blood ran cold. There was only one person who had that level of access and motive, not Yoon-hee, one of her brothers. The meeting took place in a neutral location, a private room at a Buddhist temple in the mountains outside Seoul. Only family members attended. Dae-hyun sat at the head of the table, looking older than his 70 years. The stress of the war was showing. Flanking him were Tae-sung and Tae-jin. Across from them sat Min-seo, invited for the first time to a strategic meeting. The Park family has cost us 8 billion won in 3 days. They're hitting us systematically. Distribution, collections, even our political contacts. Someone is feeding them our schedules and locations. A traitor, Dae-hyun said quietly, and our organization. I've narrowed it down to 6 possible suspects, mid-level operators with access to our schedules. I recommend we interrogate all of them. Tae-jin leaned forward. Interrogate? We execute them all. Send a message. And if the traitor isn't among them, Tae-sung countered, we've just murdered 6 loyal men for nothing. Then we're weak. No, Dong-sang, then we're smart. Dae-hyun raised his hand. Min-seo, you've been quiet. Speak. All eyes turned to her. She met her father's gaze steadily. The traitor isn't on that list, father. Tae-sung's expression hardened. What are you talking about? I've been monitoring our operations independently. The leaks are too precise, too high level. Whoever is feeding Park information has access to family meetings, strategic decisions. That's not a mid-level operator. Then who? Dae-hyun demanded. She hesitated. This was the moment, the choice that would define everything. I don't know yet, but I'm close. A lie, but a strategic one. Give me 3 days. Tae-sung stood abruptly. This is absurd. Since when does our sister conduct investigations? She has no experience, no—
Sit down, Dae-hyun commanded. Min-seo, you have your 3 days, but understand if you're wrong, there will be consequences. After the meeting, Tae-sung cornered Min-seo in the temple courtyard. What game are you playing, little sister? The same one you are, Oppa. She used the term for older brother, but her tone was ice. I'm protecting this family. From who? Park Jun-ho or from me? She met his eyes. Maybe both. He stepped closer, voice dropping. Be very careful, you're out of your depth. Am I? You told Choi Sung-men that father is dying of cancer, but father's medical records show he's perfectly healthy. Why would you lie about something so easily disprovable? Tae-sung's face went blank, a gambler's tell. Unless, Min-seo continued, you needed Choi to believe father was weak, dying, needed him to betray father to Yoon-hee. But why? What do you gain from father's most trusted advisor committing treason? You're delusional. Am I? Or am I the only one in this family who sees clearly? She turned to leave, then stopped. 3 days, Oppa. That's all I need to prove it. As she walked away, Tae-sung pulled out his phone. We have a problem. Min-seo knows too much. We need to accelerate everything. Min-seo worked through the night in her room, pieces of the puzzle finally clicking into place. Tae-sung had orchestrated the entire power play. He'd convinced Choi that Dae-hyun was dying, knowing Choi would turn to Yoon-hee out of fear and self-preservation. He'd fed Park Jun-ho information about Kim operations, escalating the war and draining resources. He was creating chaos, making their father look weak and incompetent. But there was a deeper layer. Why work with Yoon-hee when he could just wait for their father to die naturally and inherit everything? At 3 a.m., she found the answer in the encrypted files from Park's flash drive. 25 years ago, before Tae-sung was born, Dae-hyun had been married to another woman, not Min-seo's mother, a first wife that no one ever talked about. That woman had a son named Kim Jae-won, who would now be 35 years old. Dae-hyun's firstborn, the legitimate heir. According to the documents, Jae-won had been sent away at age 10 after his mother died under suspicious circumstances, sent to America with money and a new identity, told never to return to Korea or contact the family. but the files showed recent airline records. Kim Jae-won had returned to Seoul 6 months ago, and someone in the Kim family had been meeting with him regularly. Min-seo pulled up surveillance footage she'd collected from around Seoul, using facial recognition software she'd bought from her hacker contacts. There, outside a cafe in Itaewon, Tae-sung meeting with a man in his mid-30s, handing over documents. She ran the man's face through the system. Kim Jae-won, the exiled brother none of them knew existed. Tae-sung wasn't just planning a coup, he was planning to legitimize it by bringing back the true eldest son, the one with the strongest claim to succession. He'd use Jae-won to overthrow their father, then eliminate Jae-won and take everything. It was brilliant, ruthless, and it would work. Unless Min-seo stopped it. She made a decision that would change everything. She encrypted all her evidence and sent copies to 3 different locations. Then she requested a meeting with her father. Private, immediate, life or death.
Kim Dae-hyun listened to his daughter's presentation in complete silence. She laid out everything, the financial betrayals, the meetings with Jae-won, Tae-sung's manipulation of Choi, the orchestrated war with Park. When she finished, he sat motionless for a full minute. This is a serious accusation, Min-seo. Treason. Patricide. I have proof of everything. Documents, recordings, surveillance footage. Show me. She opened her laptop. For the next hour, she walked him through the evidence. With each revelation, Dae-hyun's expression grew darker, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair until his knuckles turned white. Finally, he spoke. Jae-won, I sent him away to protect him. His mother, her death was not an accident. It was an internal purge, enemies within our own ranks. I gave him money, a new life, to keep him safe from this world. He's come back, and Tae-sung is using him. Dae-hyun stood, walked to the window overlooking Seoul. I built this empire for my sons. I killed for them. I sacrificed everything. And this is how they repay me? Not Tae-jin, father. He doesn't know. He's still loyal. Loyalty. He laughed bitterly. My most trusted friend betrays me. My eldest son plots my death. My second wife steals from me. And my youngest daughter, the one I ignored, is the only one who remained true. He turned to her, and for the first time in her life, she saw tears in his eyes. What do I do, Min-seo? What does a king do when his own blood turns against him? She stood. You survive, father, and you make them pay. How? Give me control of the family's security. Let me reorganize loyal forces. In 3 days, we'll have a family meeting, all of them. Tae-sung, Yoon-hee, Choi. We expose them publicly. You decide their punishment. And Tae-jin? We tell him the truth. Give him a choice. Stand with you or with Tae-sung. Dae-hyun considered this. And if he chooses his brother, then we'll know where everyone stands. He nodded slowly. Do it. You have my authority. But Min-seo, once this begins, there's no going back. Blood will be spilled. Family will be destroyed. This family is already destroyed, father. We're just making it official. What neither of them knew was that Yoon-hee had placed listening devices in Dae-hyun's office months ago. She'd heard everything. She immediately called Tae-sung. Your sister knows. Your father knows. They're planning to expose us in 3 days. There was a pause. Then Tae-sung's voice, cold and calculating. Then we move tonight. Prepare Choi. Mobilize our loyal men. We end this before they can. What about Dae-hyun? Tonight, my father dies, and tomorrow a new Kim family rises from the ashes. Extreme tension, fast-paced. At 11 p.m., the Kim family compound was quiet, too quiet. Min-seo sat in her room, reviewing security feeds on her laptop. Something was wrong. Several guards had changed shift early, new faces she didn't recognize patrolling the grounds. She called her father. No answer. She tried Tae-jin. Voicemail. Her heart racing, she grabbed the emergency pistol she'd hidden in her dresser and moved into the hallway. The compound had 50 rooms across 3 buildings, connected by traditional covered walkways. Usually, there were guards every 20 meters. Tonight, the hallways were empty. She made her way toward her father's quarters, staying in shadows. As she approached, she heard voices, angry voices. Through a partially open door, she saw them, Tae-sung, Yoon-hee, Choi, and 6 armed men she didn't recognize. Her father sat in a chair, hands bound behind his back, face bleeding from a fresh cut. "You could have just retired," Tae-sung said, stepped down gracefully, but no, you had to hold on to power like a corpse clutching gold. "You're my son," Dae-hyun said, voice weak but defiant. "I gave you everything." "You gave me nothing but expectations and disappointment," Tae-sung said, raising a gun. "But don't worry, father. I'll take much better care of the family than you ever did." Min-seo's finger tightened on her trigger. She could take out maybe 2 of them before they killed her. Not good enough. Then she heard footsteps behind her.
She spun, gun raised, and found herself face to face with Tae-jin. He had a gun too, pointed at her heart. For 3 seconds they stared at each other. "You knew," she whispered. His face was anguished. "He's our brother, Min-seo, our blood. He's going to kill father. Father is old, weak. The family needs new leadership. And you believe Tae-sung will share power with you? You're not that naive, Oppa." Doubt flickered in his eyes. From the room, Tae-sung's voice. "Any last words, old man?" Min-seo made her choice. She lowered her gun. "If you're going to shoot me, do it now. But know this, when Tae-sung is done with father, you're next. You're the enforcer, not the strategist. You're a tool to him, and tools get discarded." Tae-jin's gun wavered. "Choose, Oppa. Your brother or your father. Your future or your soul." Inside the room, Tae-sung pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the compound. But it wasn't Kim Dae-hyun who fell. It was Choi Sung-min, shot from behind. Dae-hyun stood, no longer bound, holding Choi's pistol. Behind him, hidden in the shadows, were 20 of his most loyal guards, the original security team that Min-seo had secretly maintained. "Did you really think," Dae-hyun said, voice like thunder, "that I survived 40 years in this business by being easy to kill?" Tae-sung's face went white. His men raised their weapons, but they were outnumbered 3 to 1. "It was a test," Dae-hyun continued. "Min-seo told me everything yesterday. I wanted to see how far you'd go, how many of my own people you'd corrupted." He looked at Choi's body. 40 years of friendship ended with a bullet because you chose greed over loyalty. Then his eyes found Tae-sung. "And you, my son, my heir, you chose ambition over blood." In the hallway, Tae-jin slowly lowered his gun. Min-seo exhaled. "Thank you," she whispered. He didn't respond, just walked into the room, placing himself between his father and brother. "Hyung," he said quietly, "it's over. Surrender." Tae-sung looked at Tae-jin, betrayal in his eyes. "You're choosing him over me?" "I'm choosing family, real family, not whatever twisted thing you've become." For a moment, it seemed Tae-sung might surrender. Then his face hardened. "If I can't have the empire, no one can." He grabbed Yoon-hee, gun to her head, and began backing toward the door. "Let me walk out of here, or she dies." Dae-hyun's laugh was bitter. "Do you think I care about her? She's been stealing from me for months, plotting with you. Kill her. Save me the trouble." Yoon-hee's eyes went wide with terror. Tae-sung's hand shook. Then, in a move that shocked everyone, he threw Yoon-hee forward and ran. He made it 3 steps before Tae-jin's bullet caught him in the leg. Tae-sung collapsed, screaming. Guards swarmed him, weapons trained. Dae-hyun walked slowly over, looking down at his eldest son. "You wanted to be patriarch? Let me show you what that means." The coup has failed. Tae-sung's betrayal is exposed. Choi Sung-min is dead.
Yoon-hee's fate hangs in the balance, and Tae-jin has chosen his father over his brother, but at what cost? The Kim family compound is a war zone, father against son, brother against brother, and in the shadows, Park Joon-ho watches and waits, ready to strike while the Kim family tears itself apart. But the biggest question remains: what will Kim Dae-hyun do to his own son? What punishment awaits those who betrayed the family? And where is Kim Jae-won, the exiled heir who started this all? In Part 2, the final chapter, everything burns. Truths will be revealed that shatter everything you thought you knew. Alliances will form in unexpected places, and the Kim family will face a reckoning that will leave no one standing. This isn't just about revenge anymore, it's about survival, and in this family, only the ruthless survive. If you're on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and subscribe. Part 2 is going to break your heart. Drop a comment. Do you think Tae-jin made the right choice? Was Tae-sung justified in his coup? I want to hear your theories. Part 2 drops tomorrow, and trust me, you need to see how this ends, because when the Kim family falls, they take everyone with them.